Welcome. I'm Lasha. I'm 21 years old and I'm from Germany.
I'm Emma and I'm 19 years old and I'm Dutch and French.
And we're both international psychology students in the second year.
We're going to show you around what it's like studying psychology at Erasmus.
In Rotterdam.
Let's go!
At Erasmus University, there's endless amounts of associations. Let it be sports related, like you could follow your rugby hobby or your football, but also cheerleading and ballet, but also non-sports related, music collective or like a debate club. And if you want to get active, sustainability or UNICEF or Amnesty, you find it represented at Erasmus University.
Yeah, besides uni, there's also a lot of things you can do in the city, not related to Erasmus. You can work in tons of cafes and bars, you can do tutoring, you can work at a biker store, you can literally anything you can think of in a big city. Dutch people will be happy to have you working there. So Rotterdam is also known as the Manhattan at the Maas. Maas is the river going along Rotterdam. It's the biggest economic city in the Netherlands.
And Europe.
And Europe, actually.
Has the biggest port in whole Europe.
There are many big companies. There's a huge harbor where all the different boats for the importations to Europe come, which makes the combination of student life and living in a big city amazing. You have, you see the buildings behind us. You don't feel like you're in a small Dutch cozy student city like Delft or Leiden. You're really, as soon as you leave uni, you're in the big city, big life, big businesses, big party life, big everything.
Exactly. So all those like big city vibes also obviously give you a lot of possibilities what to do in your nighttime. And there's so many bars and clubs for any music taste and also every budget, by the way. And not just nightlife and clubs, but also cultural things. So there's a big film festival and there's so many museums. So for any interest that you might have, you will find something in Rotterdam. If you're wondering why you should study psychology here in Rotterdam and not somewhere else, that's a good question. The special thing about this university is the teaching method. So we follow the problem-based learning approach, which is very different from the old school teaching. So you don't have so much focus on lectures and someone just telling you everything, but you acquire the knowledge yourself by building on your pre-existing knowledge, by discussion with your group mates and reading the literature. And that way it's much more interactive and, in my opinion, much more fun instead of just sitting from morning till evening in a lecture hall.
In the first year, the 8 blocks touch upon 8 different aspects of psychology, so whether it can be neuropsychology, clinical psychology, social psychology, developmental psychology, anything. My favorite block is neuropsychology because even though I find it quite hard, it is the one where I feel like I learned the most. So for example, you really get to know how your stress mechanism works or how your sleep mechanism works, what your body does when you're asleep, which is, I think, psychology is very much depends on a lot of things, like the theories, but in neuropsychology you really have factual knowledge, which makes me feel like I learn the most. But all the blocks are of course very interesting as well. Social psychology is very, you really get to apply what you learn in class immediately to what you see around yourself, and then of course statistics is maybe not the easiest and maybe the ones people are most scared of, but in the end if you keep up it's really doable, so you shouldn't worry too much about that. There's also clinical psychology, which is when you get to learn about the different disorders that people throw these terms around like it doesn't mean anything, and now you really get to understand what it actually means. And then there's organizational psychology for people who are more into business, but you also study how motivation works, what combination of people work well in a company, so that's also very interesting. Another favorite one of mine is developmental psychology, where you learn how a child grows and what different environmental factors have impact on a child, so that's also very interesting. Like, all the blocks are somewhat interesting, and even the ones that are not so interesting, there are still some interesting aspects of them.
A lot of people ask us what our typical week looks like. This study is designed to be very much focused on independent learning. You only have 2 to 3 meetings a week, which last up to 2 to 3 hours, plus a lecture. So the rest of the full-time study that you're doing is you studying independently and you reading a lot of literature that is provided to you, acquiring the knowledge that is the focus of the next discussion. And then you, after you read it all, you kind of come together again and you discuss about what you've read and you can answer each other's questions.
Hi guys, so as you may know, due to the COVID situation, we do not have class at uni anymore, but only online via Zoom from our homes. So this was in the beginning quite tough to adapt, but since we're doing it for some months now, I'm happy to say that I got used to it, and I'm managing how I can to still follow the classes and stuff. And because we already did a lot of self-study before the COVID situation, I think for us it's less hard to adapt than students who have class from 8 to 5 each day at campus. So that's a good thing. And yeah, so we can meet at the campus, but most of the meetings we have is actually online. So for example, we're working on an assignment with Lotta right now, and we're doing that via Zoom, as I'm gonna show you. So yeah. Fun thing to maybe also show you in these weird corona times is my work outfits in quarantine. So since everyone on Zoom always sees my torso, I make sure I don't look like I'm in pajamas all the time. But when it comes to the bottoms, no one sees them, so I can wear the most comfortable sweatpants ever and no one will ever know. Yeah.
Good morning, Emma. Have you started on your assignment already?
I have. I think we're getting pretty far.
I've added all of these things, but I think we still have to do something here. Thank you guys for following along, letting us show you Rotterdam and campus and telling you about our daily life here. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you're interested now, if you have further questions, definitely check out the social media pages of the ESSB, the website of course, and if there's still more questions that you might have, then there's a chat online with Emma and me, for example, but also other ambassadors, where you can still ask any questions that you might have regarding the programs, student life, application procedure. So we hope to see you soon on campus, and until then, bye bye!